be great, man. I can't wait.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Fight or Flight podcast. I'm your host, James, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Eric Fajardo.
What's going on? How are you, dude? It's been too long.
It's been way too long. Crazy holiday season, a lot going on. Dealing with my mother in the hospital, so we're back, ready to rock, just in time to wrap up the season, and it couldn't come fast enough for me, dude.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It really couldn't come fast enough. I was so over this football season with all the hype that we had in the beginning of 2023, all the hopes, all the dreams. You know, thinking back to one of our first episodes when we were predicting the outcome of our season, we were way off.
Way off, dude. I mean, maybe besides Brees's numbers, like, maybe Brees.
The touchdowns weren't there. He didn't even get the 1,000 yards. Our mathematician was wrong.
Piece of shit. 6 yards.
6 yards, these fucking assholes. So typical. So typical.
Of course. I mean, go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, it's just been a really rough season for us Jets fans. We really thought we had an opportunity not only to break the playoff streak, but make a run at the Super Bowl. You know, this is the first time in my lifetime. Even so, 98, there was that feeling. But even in the 09-010 season, I was like, all right, we got a good team. But I don't know if we're going to, make a run. There's a lot of really good, the Patriots, the Colts. Like, we were talking about prime AFC, the best quarterbacks of our generation still playing the league. So for the Jets to win those games, it was still like a crapshoot. This year, looking at the schedule, looking at the AFC, looking at our lineup, our roster, and seeing what we were capable of doing, I really thought we had a potential to make a run at the Super Bowl this year. And obviously that ended 4 plays into the season on Monday Night Football against the Bills. And there's nothing you can do about injury. But Joe Douglas really dropped the ball because I think there was a lot of games that were left on the table.
100%. And then even if you look at like what we predicted, right? We thought we can compete with everyone in the AFC, but then you look at how it all played out between all the quarterback injuries, the Browns going through 4 quarterbacks, the Bengals, not the Bengals, you know what I mean? So it's like, if with a competent backup, with any bit of adjustment, sign somebody in free agency, we should be competing. Look at the Colts. To the very end, they were able to compete. To the very, very end, they were able to go.
Left and right. There's no way you can tell me that their roster is better than our roster. Their defense isn't even close to the level that we're on.
No, not at all.
And I blame Joe Douglas because not only is it the lack of competent quarterback play as a backup quarterback. Not only did he ruin Zach Wilson's career as a Jet, because it'd have been nice if he was able to still stay the backup and still learn the ropes as a backup underneath like a Jacoby Brissett, underneath a Gardner Minshew, underneath one of these backups that went out there and play, even a Joe fucking Flacco. Look at what Joe Flacco did. Carson Wentz was still like, there's so many options that the Jets could have went out there and got. But I think about it, I don't know how much of a difference it would have made. The play calling was atrocious. Our offensive line play was probably the worst in all of football.
I think it was. I think it literally was.
And, injuries attributed to that as well. But even our mainstays that didn't really get hurt and played most of the season, like Mekhi Becton had the worst stats for all left tackles. Langston Tomlinson is probably the worst left guard in football, and he got paid a boatload of money. He went from being an all-pro to being one of the worst guards in football. And then we had a ton of injuries on the other side of the line, but it's no excuse. Joe Douglas was supposed to be an offensive line guru, and every single team in the league had offensive line injuries. Everybody had offensive line injuries. Everybody was dealing with it, and they were still able to figure things out and put pieces together and have a competent offensive line. And yesterday a story came out. I'm gonna see if I can find it on Twitter real quick. Because yesterday a story came out that I couldn't believe was going on in the Jets atmosphere. So Mike Vrabel got fired,
dude,
the other day.
Yeah,
Which I think is the wildest fire in all of the NFL. Like I don't know what the Titans are doing. I'm sitting here watching this happen, and I'm like, I wish we could fire Saleh and grab him, because I think Mike Vrabel is one of the best coaches in football. Personally,
I agree. I agree.
I think if the Patriots fire Bill Belichick, and this could have been all part of the plan, if they do end up firing Bill Belichick, I guarantee Mike Vrabel is going to be the guy. They're gonna hire Mike Vrabel. They're going to be the team to bring him on board and give him a shot. I'm gonna be smart of them. He knows the system. He's part of that coaching tree, that Belichick coaching tree. I don't know if they're gonna want to stick with a Belichick protege, but let's be real. Bill is fucking getting up there in age.
Yeah, I mean, who else is even going to fill in from the Belichick coaching tree? I mean, no one coming from Belichick has done well as a head coach. You know, you look at McDaniels, you look at O'Brien. None of them have been really good as head coaches. But that being said, like, the Jets are a shit show. Don't get me wrong. They are a shit show. But you look at the Titans, two of their biggest moves have been completely negative. Letting go of A.J. Brown because they didn't want to pay him at 24 years old. They didn't want to pay him. And then you get rid of Vrabel. I mean, and it's been documented that Vrabel was extremely upset at them getting rid of A.J. Brown. That was on draft day. Apparently, he walked out of the room. So, you know, Vrabel's already coaching in a situation where he's not happy, and then they let him go. You know, wherever the hell he goes, he's going to find success. And as Jets fans, we know he's going to go to the Patriots. They're going to have that third overall pick, and that's going to be another fucking dynasty with another good head coach and another star QB. And it's like, when are we going to make these adjustments?
They're gonna be able to seamlessly transition. They're gonna get a top quarterback in the draft, and they're gonna have a great hard-nosed coach that's gonna coach these guys up. And you know, I think part of the issues with New England isn't so much Bill Belichick's coaching style. I think it's him being the GM. I think that 100%. Being released to another GM allows them to actually pick the right players. Are you getting volume through your speakers? Because I'm hearing myself back through you.
No, I don't hear you. I'm not getting any volume through my speakers.
Okay, that's very weird. But I found it. Breece Hall.
Oh, yep.
Laughed at this.
Oh, God.
So Taylor Lewan and Mike Vrabel firing. Loved him as a coach except 2018. Loved his coaching staff besides Keith Carter. And Breece Hall laughs at it. Mekhi Becton made a comment on the post as well.
Yep. Even worse. He said, second paragraph is all facts.
Sources, the Jets are bringing back O-line Coach Keith Carter. He was a priority addition for Robert Saleh this past offseason. Change there never considered. Todd Dowling will return. Also, we have our players. Our best player. Literally our best offensive player.
Yeah.
Laughing at tweets like that about Coach Keith Carter, who was the New York Jets offensive line coach. I'm sorry, that's a major problem.
I agree.
Shout out to my man Jake Asman, one of the best in the game. That's
Jake is the shit. To be fair, they Saleh did come out and say that they were going to keep LaFleur last year. A couple weeks later, they got rid of him. So they usually don't give us anything until they actually all sit down and discuss stuff. So I'm holding on to that as hope. But I mean,
I think you got to
get rid of him. Yeah.
When we have the worst offensive line in the NFL,
the most injured.
But there's zero excuse. That's on strength and conditioning more than the offensive line.
Yeah. The former Luan was saying how everyone would always get injured under Keith Carter because of how he ran his O-line practices. So it's like that's a red flag in and of itself.
I didn't hear that.
Considering 2 years straight we have the most injured O-line in the league. You know, so not only are they not communicating during the game, not only are they performing terribly, but they're getting hurt on top of that because of however he's running these practices. I mean, if that's not like a red flag, if that's not, you got to sacrifice someone. You're not going to sacrifice Hackett, apparently. You got to switch it up.
So our offensive struggles clearly weren't all on Zach Wilson. I'm not saying Zach Wilson was a good quarterback. I'm not saying that he was even a competent quarterback. But we put other quarterbacks in there, and we saw the result. They were worse than Zach Wilson, which is saying a lot. You're sitting here and telling us because we have Aaron Rodgers, we're going to keep the coaching staff. And I get it. I get it. I really do have faith in keeping Aaron Rodgers. I think that's a smarter move and keeping some continuity with the team so he doesn't have to learn a whole new offense. I get it. But somebody needs to be the sacrificial lamb. Somebody needs to be let go and cut because of the poor performance of the offensive line, because of the poor performance of our offense overall. And now you have the entire NFL that's played under this guy clowning our offensive line coach.
Yep.
Our players are laughing and clowning our offensive line coach. Breece Hall relies on the offensive line to have a productive season. And I'll tell you right now, he's one of 3 running backs in the history of the NFL to have a 95-yard rushing and a 95-yard passing in the same game twice in one season.
Twice in his career. There's one person that did it 3 times, right? Or 2 people maybe did it 3 times.
And I think Marshall Faulk.
Yeah.
And like
maybe Walter Payton. I don't remember.
But that's throughout an entire career. He's in his second fucking year.
I know. It's insane.
And this guy is out here laughing at our offensive line coach.
Yep.
We're going into 2024, ladies and gentlemen. Our season is over. There's no more hopium. There's no more, all right, we could figure this shit out. We're gonna right the ship. We're not that far away. Our defense is championship caliber. That's all out the window. The season's fucking over. If we don't address these problems, these clear, glaring problems, Eric, like they're right in our face. Every Jets fan's watching is like, I don't know if we had Aaron Rodgers out there. I don't know how would he do. Like he'd get killed. He would have got 100%. Killed this year. Like if he didn't get hurt the first 4 plays, he was getting hurt at some point this season with that offensive line.
No, let's be honest. In those 4 plays, he was getting swarmed. In the preseason against the Giants, he was getting swarmed the entire time. And the craziest thing, though, to me, like, of course, this is so fucking Jets. We saw in the last 5 games, we saw what Breece is fucking capable of. He is a top tier running back. And all year long, the line hasn't done shit for him. Hackett hasn't done shit for him. But the last 5 games, Hackett bailed out Keith Carter by scheming Breece open the entire time.
Breece Hall.
That was, as shitty as Hackett is, he might have saved Keith Carter's job by actually doing the work and scheming open Breece and
giving the ball to him.
It's absolutely insane.
What have we been saying this entire year?
Spread him out and then throw him screens, get him in space, outside runs, let him ride.
Playmakers. Get the ball to our playmakers. Let our playmakers make plays. Our offensive line is weak. Our quarterback play is weak. Let's try to get Garrett Wilson the ball. Let's try to get Breece Hall the ball as much as we possibly can. And maybe the last couple games it works. We're moving the fucking football. We're looking like we have an offensive unit, and not to the level of winning games. We happen to run into a really terrible Patriots team in the last game, and as much as everybody's sitting here bitching and moaning, we could have had a better draft pick. We could have had a better draft. Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. Fuck all of you. Because first off, the Jets are terrible at drafting. Joe Douglas has done good, but throughout the history of the New York Jets, our draft picks have been terrible. Yep. Absolutely terrible. First and second round draft picks. Like Joe Douglas has not really hit on any second round draft picks. I don't think, except for Breece. Breece was a second round, but he was really a first. Right. He was really a first, let's be real. But he was technically a second round draft pick. He hasn't hit on anybody. And we've gone forever with these high draft picks. We're always in the top 10. We're always drafting high. We're the New York Jets, and we don't have anything to show for it. Every other team has things to show for it. Hall of Fame caliber players. The only Hall of Fame caliber player that we've drafted was Nick Mangold, Brigham Ferguson, and Darrell Reeves.
Questionable.
Who's questionable. Yeah, questionable. Yeah. Questionable. But Darrell Reeves is the only solidified Hall of Famer out of the guys that we drafted. And other than that, and he wasn't even a top 10. He was like the 17th, 18th pick in the draft or something like that.
Yeah, coming out of Pitt.
And yeah, to Pitt. So we don't have much to show for it when it comes to drafting anyway. And going into the next season, we're going to have a core unit that we're going to have from this year on the defensive side of the football, on the offensive side of the football. None of those guys that played that game wanted to lose that game. Didn't matter if it was the Patriots or not. They wanted to win. They wanted to go into the next season with a little bit of momentum, especially after a season that we had this year where we just got dragged through the mud, and it was so demoralizing. Watching, guys like Garrett Wilson after the game, like, if shit doesn't shape up, I'm going to get out of here. Like, do you blame him?
No, not one bit. Not one bit. He's got too much talent to be going to the shit, and he's a winner. In high school, he's a state champ. In college, I think they won the Nationals in Ohio State. I don't remember.
I think Ohio State won the national championship. Yep.
But he's a born winner. He's got the mentality for it. This is all he cares about. All he cares about is winning. He doesn't give it. People keep telling him about his stats, how good of a season he has. He says it every time. I don't even know what kind of season I had. This was the worst year of my life.
Yeah.
That is so crushing to hear. That is so crushing to hear because he's a good kid.
Yes, he's got a good head on his shoulders.
Yep.
He wants to win, and I will say you called it at the beginning of the season. He's changing his number. He got the number off of Thomas Morstead, number 5. I just bought my Garrett jersey. Great. Throw that out the window.
Perfect.
Throw it out the window. I hope that means that we're changing uniforms, though. I hope that's what that means.
I think it is, because if you change your jersey while you have the same uniforms going into the next year, you have to buy out all the rest of the jerseys that are like in stock.
The stock, yeah. So I think it's a possibility. I hope we go back to the old Jets logo, like the throwbacks that we wore this year. There was so much hype around them. I'd like to keep a black jersey in there. Those were clean, especially with the white and black, that white and black combo. And I was thinking about that on Sunday watching the Jets-Patriots game, because I said to my father, I'll never be upset beating the New England Patriots. Like, I'll never be frustrated. I don't care what the situation is. Anytime that we could beat Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, especially if that's truly his last game as the coach, like, nothing would make me happier to send that fuck off with a loss. Like, ending his career as a Patriots coach with a loss to the New York Jets, a team that he hates. Nothing makes me more excited in football. Like, if the Jets are out, my transition to rooting from the Jets, and what makes me happy is watching the Patriots lose. Like that's my transition. It's like, all right, I can't enjoy Jets winning. I might as well enjoy Patriots losing. That's really how it is, and it's been like that for because we're morbid Jets fans. We've been losing forever, so might as well move on to the next best thing. And now it's like, all right, I can't wait for. Like, I was watching the Bills Dolphins game the other day with my brother-in-law, who's a Bills fan, and I said to him, I was like, man, I don't like rooting for the Bills, but I'm rooting for them today because my Dolphins hatred supersedes my Bills hatred.
100%.
So
that's a beautiful, beautiful game, because the Dolphins had a 3-game lead in the division.
Yeah.
And over the last 5 weeks, the classic Miami meltdown. Don't be surprised if they lose first round of the playoffs, man. That's what Miami does. And I'm okay with the Bills going. They can't beat good teams. Nope. They can't beat good teams. It's all a facade, and realistically, the way we lost to them is embarrassing, both games. But if everything tightens up for next season, I'm not afraid of that team at all.
Not at all. I wasn't afraid of them this year, dude.
No.
I wasn't afraid of either of those. Any team in the AFC, I was not afraid of. There was not one team that I, like, looking at it, I was like I said, 08 or 09 and 10, when you're looking at the AFC, you're like, oh, fuck. Like, we got Tom Brady in our division. We're going to have to play him twice. Fuck. They're really good. Oh, we got Peyton Manning in that division. Oh, fuck, we got to play them in the playoffs. Oh, we got Big Ben and the Steelers and that dominant defense and Mike Tomlin. Oh, fuck. Like, it was a gauntlet. Like, I'm looking at our schedule. I'm like, man, like, this is going to be brutal. And looking at the AFC today, fast forwarding 13 years, 14 years, It's not even close to the same. I think the NFL as a whole, I think Tom Brady said it himself. He's like, the quarterback play is terrible, and like the coaching, everything about today's NFL is so different. And I think he's 100% right. And I saw a meme the other day, and it was like, we didn't realize how good we had it, and it was just like a montage of all the great quarterbacks that we got to watch. And then thinking about it today, like the great quarterback, like they're anointing Herbert, who I don't think is that good. Like he had a good rookie season, but they can't win football games. They have talent on that team. They got great wide receivers, great running backs. They can't do anything. He's not a great quarterback yet. I don't think he's earned that yet. Joe Burrow, he's good, but I don't think he's earned great yet. I don't think he's there. Patrick Mahomes is the only one that you could really say that, like, all right, this guy, he's a game changer. Like, he's gonna win you. Patrick Mahomes is going to win you games. Like, I don't think Joe Burrow, you can say, oh, if the game's on the line, like, and there's 2 minutes left, I want Joe Burrow to have the football 10 times out of 10. Like, he's not there. Like, when it was 2 minutes left and Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, these guys had the ball, you knew it was over. You're like, ah, fuck. It's over. Like, even Josh Allen, I don't think he's in that category.
I will say, I think Josh Allen has the mental makeup of those guys. I just think he's kind of a dumbass. Like, he has to do everything himself, right? I think that their weapons are super overrated. Diggs is phenomenal, but he disappears in the playoffs. He disappears in big moments. And as for Pat Mahomes, he kind of got exposed this year. Oh, every game that the Chiefs struggled in, that they faced adversity, where does the camera go? Pat Mahomes having a meltdown on the sidelines.
Taylor Swift, really, but
maybe. yeah. Where does the camera go? Taylor Swift. She's a shill.
Oh, dude. Well, you saw you saw the reports that are coming out. The Pentagon asked her. It's fucking wild. I'm a crazy conspiracy guy. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I've been saying that shit forever. No.
I believe it.
If you like that stuff, go check out my other show, We the People Radio, live every Tuesday and Friday. Come and hang out in the chat. We're live 8:30 Eastern, 8:30 p.m. We get into all of that stuff, and I do want to talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers today. So we'll get into that next.
Thank God.
I want to circle back for a second because I was laying some blame on Joe Douglas. We left some games on the table. Like, we should have beat Atlanta
easily. All we needed was one touchdown.
We should have beat the Chargers.
That's the only one people can question because they ran up the score, but it got out of hand. I was at that game. Our team
the Chargers
is better.
Put up 6 points. 6 points against the Giants and won 6-0.
Yeah, 100%. I was there, dude. There's a difference in the physicality, the speed, everything. It was just the coaching. But no, it was mistakes.
My point is, our team we had a better team than the Chargers. We had a better team. And we got killed. We should have won that game. Going into that game, we should have won. Coming off the Eagles' loss, though, that stretch of games,
Eagles win.
Huh?
Eagles win.
Or the Eagles win. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. We should have after the bye went on a 2-3, maybe even 4-game winning streak going into that Dolphins game and Bills game. Those games were tough. Those were a toss up. I expected it to be a grind, but if we stacked a couple of those wins, we're in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, easily.
We're literally in the playoffs playing football. Playoff football. It's so frustrating knowing that even with all of the injuries, even with all of the deficiencies on our offensive line, even with a backup quarterback, even with an offensive coordinator who can't call plays for anybody but Aaron Rodgers, who's an offensive coordinator on his own. Even with terrible head coaching decisions with time management and all these things going on and personnel decisions that were going on, even with all of that, we still should have been in the playoffs. Yeah. We still should be a playoff team. You look at the Browns, you look at the Steelers, you look at these teams that are in the playoffs, and you're like, how? How the fuck are these teams in the playoffs, and how did we not get in?
It blows my mind because even in that Browns game, as like painful as it was, a lot of it has to do with the emotion of it's Flacco, it's Elijah Moore, but our offense was moving the ball. Our defense was creating turnovers. They're not an unbeatable team. Like, that defense really didn't it was just a lot of bad play calling, but it wasn't like the defense completely dominated us.
They had our backup quarterback from last year that they brought off the couch and dominated us. He was sitting on the couch 90% of this season. They're like, we had 4 injuries to the quarterback position. We don't know what to do. Joe, come on, come and help us out. and this guy was balling out.
He has more, or whatever, in the last week of the season, he had more touchdown passes in his 5 games than all of our quarterbacks combined.
Whole season. It's
The whole season.
It's fucking
It's disgusting.
I hate being a Jets fan. I really do.
It's so bad. And to be fair, if Flacco came here, he wouldn't be putting up those numbers.
No, our offensive line was so bad.
Yeah, he would have gotten decimated.
But I'll
Like
tell
he's
you
got two guards that are like legit Pro Bowl caliber guards on the interior, and then a coach that realizes that the strength is in their interior and works around it.
Yeah, our coaches, not our head coach. Like I really hope that Roberts. Like I'm so sick and tired of this talk that it's a system. It's a system. It's a system. Like we had a good defense. I get it, but we never made any adjustments when the system got exposed. And one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest coach of all time, you can argue this, Don Shula. He's definitely in the conversation with Bill Belichick as one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yep.
He was known for a bruising running attack. When they were undefeated, they were running the football. They were dominating with the run. With the Colts, he was running the football. When he had Johnny Unitas, they were running the football. Just dominate, run, play good defense. All of a sudden, he gets this young quarterback out of Pitt in 1984 named Dan Marino who could sling the rock. He's like, oh, I never had this before. Like, I coached Johnny Unitas. I coached some of the best quarterbacks ever, but I never had this. We're airing it, boys. We're throwing the football. And Dan Marino threw 48 touchdown passes in his rookie year.
Yeah.
48 touchdown passes because Don Shula is a smart coach and was like, oh, we have something that nobody else has. I'm going to use it. I'm not going to say, oh, my system is better than – my system is elite. It's better than everything. No matter who's there, the system's going to work. No, he saw he had a weapon and he used it. We have that on both sides of the football. Or offensive coordinators like, oh, our system's great. Even Aaron Rodgers, and to knock on Aaron Rodgers as well. Oh, I won 2 MVPs on the system. Well, no, not everybody is you, Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, that system worked for you. It clearly wasn't working for anybody else. Why didn't we make a change? Why didn't we, like at the end of the season, start throwing screen passes, getting our playmakers the ball? Why? Why on the defensive side of the ball when our defense was getting exposed? Like against the Dolphins the second time when Waddle, they had no Tyreek Hill and Waddle was burning DJ Reed. And DJ Reed's a good cornerback. Nothing against DJ Reed. He played very well this year. But he was clearly not able to cover Jalen Waddle at that level. He got burned left and right. Why not put Sauce on their best guy and let Sauce be Sauce? Like, I'm sure the system could figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, blitz. Right? Blitz. I mean, we're just getting completely out-schemed. Like, blitz, if you're not going to have Sauce travel, get more pressure on Tua. You saw what the Bills did to Tua in that last game.
It's like, more so just the fact that our guys won't make adjustments.
Yeah.
And I'm so sick and tired of Coach Saleh going, oh, it's our system. You know, this is what we do. The system clearly works, this, that, and the other. Well, it doesn't work 100% of the time. You need to make adjustments. You need to make like like we were saying with the Chargers, they shouldn't have blown us out. There should have been some adjustments made. The offensive side of the football, as soon as we realize that we can't score touchdowns, we need to make adjustments to figure out ways to score touchdowns. It was like running into a brick wall, hoping that one day we're gonna get through. Like,
yeah, I mean, and it's he's trusting because like he has more knowledge on the defensive side of the ball, so. That first year, Ulbrich was a little shaky. Second year, Saleh steps in, puts his input. Now this defense finished first this year.
According to PFF, yes.
According to PFF, which, you know, we could argue that. Either way, they're top 5, most likely.
Elite defense. An elite defense. No questions.
On the offensive side of the ball, right, his input really, how far is that going to carry? And that comes from the hiring process. We don't have a veteran offensive mind in the building. We have a bunch of unproven guys. Calabrese, he has no resume. That's our QB coach. He was like an OC at Wagner and then a quality control coach somewhere in the NFL, and then now he's the QB coach for our 2nd overall draft pick. And I get it, Knapp died, it sucks, but we didn't bring in anyone. Then we get Hackett.
No adjustments.
Who, when Hackett was an OC, he got carried by LaFleur. and Aaron Rodgers. So
No,
it's
Aaron
like
Rodgers. That's who we got carried by.
yeah. So, but he didn't even call the plays. He called the red zone shit. So it's like we don't have that veteran presence to like make those adjustments. And you know this because Hackett can't get the play out on time. When he was in Denver, the home crowd, would have to count down the play clock because it was so often that they wouldn't get the playoff on time. And when they break the huddle, it's like 10 seconds left on the clock, and they're scrambling to make something happen.
No time for adjustments.
Nothing. Exactly.
Scanning the field.
And for someone like Zach, who's so green and who's had a shitty first 2 years with no like guidance, it's a recipe for disaster. And he still played better than he did in his first 2 seasons. Realistically,
He still got better.
I mean,
Absolutely.
You know?
And Ant in the chat is 100% right. Salah better get fired if we don't make the playoffs next year. Like if we don't make the playoffs next year, like we need to clean house. Like the Aaron Rodgers experiment needs to be over. I don't care if he wants to give us 2 years. We need to blow it all up. And unless Aaron wants to stay with a new coaching coordinator, that's fine. I doubt it. But
well, he said it himself. He said, we're all on the hot seat next year. I have to prove that I could still play and move around. And if we don't succeed, then they're probably going to blow it all up. He's come to terms with that. And it's good that someone will say it because the coaches aren't going to say that.
No.
It's good that we have someone who's like leading us. If he's our leader, fuck it. You know,
I'm okay with that. I'm
okay with it. The media is trying to like really shit on that aspect that like, oh, Aaron's the alpha male and all that. Yeah, fucking fine. Yep. He's the same age basically as Salah, and he's got MVP experience and a Super Bowl ring. So you know what? If he's our biggest influence, I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, the GM has to also put the proper pieces in place, and that's from a coaching standpoint and a player and a personnel standpoint. And we're not getting that. Rodgers can't hire coaches. Rodgers, like, he's gonna bring his buddies on, like Lazard, who was trash, Cobb, fucking the other dude, Billy Turner, whatever. But at the end of the day, there's got to be someone else making some better calls because we're seeing this lack of adjustments. We're seeing lack of depth, and it's ruining a season that, you know, we were decimated with injury playing with fucking XFL quarterbacks, and we still pull out 7 wins. Are we disappointed in that? Yeah, because we had Super Bowl aspirations. But any other year, we would be like, wow, we got 7 wins out of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's bullshit. We have the talent. We have a decent enough roster, but
we have weapons. We absolutely have.
We got to finish the job. Finish the job. He had a great draft. We're talking about we don't pick anyone who's good or whatever. His first round draft picks: Sauce, Jermaine Johnson, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Vera-Tucker. Those 4 alone should make you a playoff team if that's how your GM drafts.
Yep, no question. And
we're sitting here.
And you know, getting, you know, undrafted guys like Bryce Huff, and you know, what's his name had a pretty good year, who drafted in the 3rd round. Ashton Davis had a pretty good year.
Yeah,
he had a very good year. You know, Tony Adams played pretty well, which was a good pickup. You know, there's some guys that Joe Douglas brought into the team that played very well, but you know, he's supposed to be an offensive guru, and he's had this offensive line guru, and he's had this offensive line, you know, for how many years, and there really hasn't been many adjustments or additions. It's brutal. So yeah, the off season is going to be very, very interesting. Now, this is typical Jets fan talk, because this is what we talk about every single year at this time. Oh, the off season, here we go, and I'm very interested. I think, you know, the offensive side of the football is obviously priority number 1, and we'll get into the offensive side of the football in a second. But the one thing that I'm very interested to see how Joe Douglas handles this, because we've never done this before. It's not even that haven't done this before. I don't think it's really happened to the Jets, because I've watched the Jets for a long time, and we've never had a guy that was undrafted or a very low draft pick that turned into a superstar on the team, and one of the best guys in the league in Bryce Huff. I'm very interested to see what we do, especially when we drafted a guy like Will McDonald in the 1st round. What are we going to do with Bryce Huff?
I think you got to put an offer out there, right? It can't. Everyone's saying just write him a blank check. Realistically, you can't, right? Because you have to sign a tackle. You have to sign a big name wide receiver. You got to make him an offer. If he's not into it, you got to tag him and trade him. I mean, you have to. You got no choice. We don't have a second round pick. If we tag him, trade him, we'll get that second round pick. I love the guy. I think Will McDonald, he barely played, but he did show flashes, and I think that he was our insurance for Bryce Huff when we drafted him. And
well, I don't think that's a good strategy. I blame Joe Douglas. If that's the strategy, that's the insurance strategy. If Bryce Huff doesn't pan out, that we got a guy that can step in. I think that's a terrible strategy because we have so many other needs. Our offensive line is clearly doing terribly. We clearly need wide receiver help. Jackson Smith and Jigba would be a great addition right now.
Zay Flowers.
Look at all these rookie wide receivers that had great years that were drafted. Not even in the first round, and we didn't get any of them. Our wide receiver room was terrible. Our offensive line was terrible. So I think that's a terrible strategy if that was truly the case. One, you clearly can't evaluate talent if you can't see that Bryce Huff after last year was projecting to have a breakout season this year, because we all saw it. All of us Jets fans, not football aficionados or gurus. I'm not a scout or anything, but I was watching Bryce Huff last year, and there was a lot of flashes that this guy had what it takes to be an elite pass rusher. And this year he came out, got double-digit sacks, and proved to the world that he's an elite pass rusher. He had the third best pressure rate behind guys like Myles Garrett and I think it was Micah Parsons, yeah. Those two guys, who Myles Garrett's going to be the defensive player of the year, and Micah Parsons is going to be the runner-up. Defensive player of the year. And this guy, Bryce Huff, who's on the New York Jets, an undrafted free agent, which we've never had a guy who's like, I watch every year, these guys show up out of nowhere. They're like, wait, how the fuck, like the Rams, Puka Nacua, like all these guys that you have no idea who the fuck they are, and they turn out to be superstars in the league. They turn out to be elite. And the Jets never did that. Like throughout the entire history of the New York Jets, we have never got a guy that was undrafted or a very low draft pick that turned into a superstar. Wherever Bryce Huff goes, wherever he goes, he is going to be an elite pass rusher. And we're going to watch him. If he does not stay as a New York Jet, we're going to watch him just like John Abraham when we let him go to the Atlanta Falcons and go and play in Super Bowls and play in playoff games year in and year out and dominate and making plays. Like, I always rooted for John Abraham. I liked him as a Jet. I loved him when he was on the Jets. And then he went to the Falcons and he dominated. Jonathan Vilma. Dominant on the Jets. We let him go. He goes to the Saints, dominates, and brings them to the Super Bowl. He was the key piece to that defense and winning them a Super Bowl.
Demario Davis, Keyshawn Johnson. I mean,
over, and those are all high draft picks. This is a guy that we got out of nowhere, and if we do not sign him, I think that sends a message to the rest of the league. It sends a message to all these other undrafted free agents, like, hey, if you come to the Jets and you perform really well, we're going to let you go and walk and let you go somewhere else. We're not going to reward you for putting in this hard work and getting better and becoming an elite guy and earning a spot. Because that's what Bryce Huff did.
That might be a fucking incentive, though. Come to a shitty Jets team, get a lot of shine because everything else sucks, and then go get paid by a good team.
Yes, but that's not good for the Jets.
No, it's not. It's not.
Good for the Jets.
But I think that if they do get rid of him, then they're betting on McDonald's upside and the coaching staff's ability to develop talent, which they've proven on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
They've proven their ability to develop talent. You look at Jermaine Johnson, that jump was, and I think you called it, that jump was fucking insane.
I was very high on Jermaine Johnson going into this season, and I wanted to bring that up because, Jermaine Johnson had a very similar season in his rookie year that Will McDonald had this year, where you saw some flashes from Jermaine last year. He made some plays, but he wasn't on the field a lot. Like, he didn't get a lot of snaps, where when Will McDonald this year, he didn't get a lot of snaps, but when he was on the field, you could see the athleticism, you could see the pressures that he was putting on. So hopefully that same jump happens for a guy like Will McDonald. But I'll tell you right now, you got to figure out a way to get this guy Bryce Huff on the team. He's too good. He's too explosive. He makes too much of an impact to sit here and say, okay, maybe Will McDonald could turn into something like that. Like, we already got a guy. We already got a guy that's proven himself to be great. We either got to franchise tag him and then during next season figure out a way to sign him.
Yeah.
Or franchise tag him and trade him, which I'd hate to see happen. Or we got to give him a total contract and sign him outright. Those are the only three things that can happen with Bryce Huff. He better be if we can't get him to sign, we better franchise tag him. I don't see anybody else on the team that I'd want to franchise tag. Like Mekhi Becton, maybe, but I don't think he's good enough to get that franchise tag. Because I get it. You don't let left tackles walk out the door, especially at his size when we can't get any left tackles to begin with.
Yeah.
They're very hard to come by, and a lot of offensive linemen, even Willie Colon is like, I didn't really feel comfortable in the NFL till my fourth year anyway, which this is really his fourth year because of injury. So I could see them giving it to Mekhi, and we'll get into Mekhi in a second, but I think Bryce Huff is more of a better move at the franchise tag if we can't sign him outright. And
especially because we're win now next year. Like, yes. Regardless, it's just get the best people, keep the best people in the building, yes. Get the best people in the building, play it out. If it was like, if we were developing and then, we want to hoard some draft picks or whatever the case may be, fine, get rid of them, because we do have guys on the back burner in the pipeline, working their way up, but they're coaching for their jobs next year. Joe D is drafting for his job next year.
Yep.
I don't see why they would... he'd have to get offered a lot of money from somewhere, right? There's a good chance that if we
shouldn't even get to that point where it's bidding, Eric. It shouldn't even get to that point.
Yeah, but if someone offers him 20-something mil,
we franchise tag him. He's beat.com.
You tag him. So then I think that if they do tag him, there's a good chance that someone who's Super Bowl ready would just be like, fuck it. Throw a first round pick at this
that would be worth the trade. If there's a first round pick available for that, I still would rather have Bryce Huff because he's a proven commodity in the NFL. Yes. He's proven that he can rush the quarterback at an elite level, which the Jets haven't really had since a guy like John Abraham. Mo Wilkerson had one good year, but other than that, we really haven't had a guy who's an elite pass rusher in the league. And even when Mo Wilkerson was on the team, he wasn't the top 5 pass rusher in the league.
No.
Bryce Huff is a top 5, if not top 3 pass rusher in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
We've never had that. Never in my Jets fandom had a guy that level, even guys like Sean Ellis. We never really had an elite top 5 pass rusher, and Bryce Huff has earned that. So we need to keep him on the team. I think the franchise tag, me personally, should go towards him as much as we need to worry about the offensive side of the football. I think we can sign Mekhi Becton, unless Mekhi Becton is asking for like $10, $12, $15 million a year. Which I don't see any team giving him that.
No, he had one of the worst statistical seasons a left tackle could have, realistically.
Yeah. So I don't see a team giving him buku dollars to sign a guy like Mekhi Becton. I think he's going to be very affordable to at least lock up for 2 to 3 years.
It'll probably be a 1 year prove it. That's what I think.
Yeah, because we didn't pick up his 5th year option, which I'm fine with because he hasn't earned that. But I think we can sign him outright and not have as much pressure of outside people coming in to offer him this giant outlandish deal. Like if someone wants to offer him $15 million, you guys are fucking retards. Have at it. Enjoy.
Kick
but
rocks.
I don't think that's going to be the case. I think there's going to be a small market for him, and it's going to be he's gonna probably try because he seems like that guy that's going to try to ask for a ridiculous contract. Like he thinks he's better than he actually is, but no one's going to give it to him. And I think we're going to be able to sign him for a 1 year prove it deal or even a 2-3 year deal where it's a very affordable contract. And he'll then realize that, like, hey, I got to fucking put some tape on that I'm worth money. And if he does 100%. That, like if he comes out and does a prove it year and has an elite year at right or left tackle wherever he's playing and plays at a Pro Bowl level, let's sign the guy. Let's fucking give him money. Let's make him a Jet for life. I am all for it. That's fine. But right now, we cannot give him big dollars. But we need tackles desperately. So to watch a left tackle or a right tackle of his size just walk out the door, it's a tough call. It's a very, very tough call. I'd like to see what we do in the draft. Who we bring in. There's not many tackles or linemen that are free agents. And Mason, I see tag and trading Huff, but I'd much rather keep him. I'd much rather have him as a Jet. Lock him in for 5 years like with Quinnen. Having him and Quinnen and Jermaine Johnson just dominate, pressuring the quarterback, I think would be an awesome thing to have. I really don't want to see him walk. We don't have talent like that gets developed by the Jets and stays as a Jet. Like if we sign Bryce, I'm buying a Bryce Huff jersey. I'm getting one.
I don't think he wants to be here. I mean, if you look at his interview when they're like, will there be a hometown discount or whatever, the way he said that there won't be a discount, like the way he said it, like just the inflection, it was just so like, I'm not even thinking about, like, I'm not even considering coming back here. It's like, it kind of seems like he knows it's a wrap. You know what I mean? So he's unhappy with the system, right? He wants to play more. But to be honest, if there is one aspect of the team where I'm like, yeah, I'm down with the system for the most part, it's the defensive side of the ball. The way our D-line stayed healthy, besides, what the fuck is his name? Al Woods blowing his Achilles out, which was a freak thing. Mm-hmm. I kind of like it because our defense is built to peak end of the season into playoffs. You know what I mean?
So we haven't had an opportunity to pin our ears back on defense and just get after the quarterback. Not once.
No, and you look at the Pats game. I mean, the other thing about the Pats game that I was really excited about was Breece Hall went absolutely insane against the number one rushing defense in the league.
Yep.
Right? So we finally get him the ball, whatever, we get the lead, and look what the defense did. It was turnover after turnover, pressure after pressure, sack after sack. You know, they were laying huge hits. They were excited to be there. And then you look at these other games where, like, we didn't even have a chance. Look at the Browns game. They knew that it was done. The defense
missing tackles left and right. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing to watch. But no, I listen. I get it. But as a lifelong Jets fan, it doesn't happen often where we have a guy at Bryce Huff's caliber come in and he's a Jet for an extended period of time. Like, it doesn't happen. It's never happened.
But if he's going to give us the Jets tax, fuck him. Because you know what? We got a win now team. I'm looking to win next year. I'm sick of the sentimental shit. Well, I like the young guys we got. Fuck him. If he doesn't want to be here, fuck him. Eric, send him on his way.
I think that says a message that, you know, if he doesn't want to give the Jets tax and, you know, what you were just talking about, him possibly wanting to leave, I think that's very telling of our organization and what's going on. And, you know, you have Aaron Rodgers going on TV talking about how we need to get rid of all of these leaks and get rid of, like, you know, the things that are coming out of the Jets organization we need to get rid of. Like, that's not a winning organization. That's not things that winning organizations do. And the Jets have tons of these issues. Like, he's our leader and he's saying these things. And you have all of these leaks that are coming out, and you have Garrett Wilson saying that, hey, like, if this is the worst year of my life, and if this shit doesn't change, like, I'm not staying here. Like, if Garrett Wilson, a guy who I'm looking at as the most talented wide receiver the Jets have ever had, ever.
I agree.
Ever. There's not one wide receiver that I can look at and say that was better, that has more talent and is better than Garrett Wilson. Even
Stephen Hill.
Yeah, Stephen Hill. Yeah, Keyshawn. Even guys like Keyshawn Johnson, Santana Moss, even those guys, like, Garrett Wilson has the potential to be a top 5, top 3 wide receiver in this league. No question. No question. He's got the mindset. He wants to win. And he's sitting here saying, this is the worst year of my life. And you have guys like Bryce, like if things were good, if, like, things were really that good and these guys had belief in their coaches, and you have Breece Hall and Mekhi Becton making comments about our fucking offensive line coach. Like, this is the culture that the Jets have. This is a problem. When they're saying, I don't want to sign here, or I'm not going to give a discount, there's clearly an issue, a systematic issue going on in that organization. And it stems more than just Saleh and the coaching staff and the GM. It's the organization as a whole. There's leaks with the equipment. Somebody in that organization is running their fucking mouth. It's
the cabal, dude.
And, well, I think I seriously believe that Joe Namath sold his soul to win that Super Bowl. I'm on that train, dude.
It's very fucking possible.
I'm on that train. And he sold his soul to win the Super Bowl III, and the Jets have to suffer for the rest of his existence. Like, once he dies, then the Jets will win. Like, it's really weird how that happens, but I really think that there needs to be a major shift, and I think Aaron Rodgers can be that guy to make that change. He knows what it's like to play for a winning organization. Like, the Green Bay Packers are historically one of the greatest franchises in the NFL. They're one of the best franchises, one of the best run franchises. Their ownership is not even true. It's the fans that own it. They don't have a true owner. They have a president and guys who run the ship, but it's a winning franchise.
It was the first dynasty.
Yes. But forget about the football in the 60s. From the 60s all the way through the 70s, like they had a rough couple years, but for the most part, they have been a winning franchise year in and year out, a playoff competitor. They have they churn out Hall of Famers at all levels of the field. Offensive line, defensive line, like they have some of the best players of all time. The Jets have none of that. None of that. Like we don't have the best players of all time in any position. In any. We have like three Hall of Famers in our history.
And then you look at Mawai, Revis, Klecko.
Curtis Martin, he's probably our best. He's probably our best. He wasn't
even the best back in the league at the time, you know.
I think Curtis Martin's a top 10 running back of all time. He's a top 10 running back of all time.
Oh man, that's a whole nother show. I don't know.
When he retired, he was number 3 on the rushing list. He was number 3 on the rushing list. He had a long
career though too, and he had like 30 carries a game.
Yes.
30 plus touches a game between receiving it. I mean, he was one of the first really good receiving backs. 100%.
His statistics are through the roof. He's a great running back. But I think he's a top 10 running back of all time. I really do. But other than those guys, the Jets don't really have anything. And you know, this coming from our leader, Aaron Rodgers, who came from that winning franchise and is saying, yo, this is bad. This is not how winning organizations operate. Like, we need to nip this in the bud immediately. We need to get those people out the fucking door. Like, doesn't matter who they are. They need gone. Like, get them out. And we need to start, you know, planting some traps. Like, we need to start putting out some stories to people like, hey, here's the story. And, you know, they're all fake. And you know, give different ones to each person so you know exactly who it is. And then
JD did that when he first came in. Do you remember?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. We need to do that on a mass scale. Like, we need to figure out who these leaks are, who these fucking rat bastards are, and get them out. Whether they're equipment managers, whether they're trainers, it doesn't matter. Whether they're players, get them the fuck out. Like, you know, you hear about players that will, you know, be like, hey, I'll give you this story if you can get me on a show after I retire. Like, these things are deals that are being made. We can't have that in this organization. Guys need to want to be here. We need to have guys that are on the team that are performing, our top performers, like Garrett Wilson, like Bryce Huff. These guys should be out there saying, like, yeah, if the Jets want me here, I'll give them a little bit of a discount. I want to be a Jet for life, Garrett Wilson should be saying. Garrett Wilson should be saying things like that, like, I want to be with this franchise my entire career. Whether that's true or not, that's what we need to hear out of these guys. And I don't blame them for saying what they're saying. I'm not mad at them for saying it because they're right. They have every right to say it. Our franchise is a disaster.
I agree, man. And it just adds to the embarrassment, and it makes the season that we had even worse. But at the same time, we're going to get a full offseason of Aaron Rodgers, who is determined to clean everything up, change the mindset of all of our young guys.
Yep. Prove that he can still play.
Prove that he can still play. He said he's going to go into a deep dive of the offense with Hackett, which is basically going to be like going through each game and telling Hackett, why the fuck would you call this type shit. And
Aaron Rodgers is going to be the OC when he's playing. Let's be real.
100%. And you just have to hope and pray that he stays healthy and that we have a viable backup option. I mean,
viable backup, and we have a solid offensive line. It doesn't need to be a great offensive line, but it needs to be solid. Where guys, you know, our quarterback's not getting crushed.
Yeah, solid and healthy.
I'm excited for this offseason. We'll close out on what's going to happen in the offseason or what we think is going to happen in the offseason, but I do want to briefly touch on what's going on with Aaron Rodgers because it's fucking comical. It's fucking comical. You liberals, you guys are insane. It's not even just the liberals. It's the Hollywood elite. It's ESPN. Like, he went on yesterday and he's like, yo, Mike Floss, who's like the producer of the show, he's like, you're making it fucking worse. Like, you're not helping the situation. You're an idiot. You know, he's calling all these people out. And what happens today? Canceled. ESPN cancels him. You know, there's one thing that I will always speak about, and I will speak very loudly about, and you know, I give tons of respect to people like Aaron Rodgers or Izzy Adesanya, who speaks about this heavily, calling out crimes against children. It's the most sick and evil thing that could possibly happen. And Aaron Rodgers is doing a great job at keeping this conversation at the forefront of everybody's mind, because that's what these people did, regardless of who may be named and who may not be named. These people were doing evil atrocities to children. And the fact that you're going to sit here and say that this guy should be censored and canceled because of this just goes to show the type of character that these people are.
And let alone what he said wasn't that egregious or direct. Oh. So to have this kind of blowback from the small moment in time where he said Jimmy is not looking forward to the list coming out, that's all he said essentially. Mm-hmm. To get this kind of blowback makes it more suspicious. Well, and let's be real, it's out there. He's friends with Epstein's chef. He's good friends with Epstein's chef.
Very good friends.
Obviously, that's going to raise eyebrows, but he's not going to address that. He didn't come out and say, yes, I'm friends with so-and-so. He's associated with that, but I'm not. All he said was Aaron Rodgers is a brain-dead idiot, basically.
Cussed idiot, has no clue what he's talking about.
And then he victimized himself, which is the formula for everybody who comes out and says shit.
And had 10 writers write that monologue for him.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's not even authentic.
No, and to have that kind of response, for me or for anyone who has half of a brain, makes it more suspicious.
Any human decency whatsoever. Even Aaron Rodgers said it yesterday. He's like, I think we can all agree that if your name is mentioned or you're involved in this, there should be at very least an inquiry. At the max, there should be a full-blown investigation. Like, we should all agree on this. This is something that everybody in the world should be able to come together and be like, all right, they're doing what to children? Yeah, we need to fucking stop this. Like, this is not okay. This is on any level, in any capacity whatsoever. This is not okay. And
Kimmel trashed him months ago for when Rodgers said, can't wait for the Epstein list to come out. Trashed him for that.
He trashed him at the immunization nonsense. He did whole monologues about it.
Yeah, and so just for, you could also take what Rodgers said as Jimmy doesn't want the list to come out because it proves that Rodgers is right that a list exists. It proves that there was pedophilia. Not necessarily that Jimmy Kimmel did it.
Ghislaine Max was the only person in history to get convicted of child trafficking with no clients or nobody that she was trafficking children to.
Exactly.
One person in history. Who the fuck was she trafficking children to?
To no one?
Who was partaking? Who was going to this island? Why were they going to the island? Who was going to his Manhattan house? His Zorro ranch in New Mexico. He literally had that ranch in New Mexico so he could impregnate millions of girls so he could seed the entire world with his DNA. That was literally his plan. Yeah. That was literally Jeffrey Epstein's plan in New Mexico. Like, these people were sick, doing sick, disgusting things. And you just want to sweep it under the rug like it doesn't exist. Go fuck yourself. I'm going to scream at the top of the mountains every single time to save these children, to fight back against this evil, and call it out. And I give Aaron Rodgers a fuck ton of credit for using his platform, for taking advantage of his opportunity to bring light and shed light to this stuff. You want to call him crazy? Like, I was listening to New York Sports Talk Radio. They're like, it has nothing. Aaron Rodgers is saying how we need to, keep this stuff in house, and he's going on Pat McAfee talking about Jeffrey Epstein. I'm like, you're acting like sports are more important than trafficking children.
It's two different things. He's a human being. He can look at this shit. Anybody who pays attention to anything should want to question what's going on in our culture. He's big. First of all, he's bigger than sports, right? He's a massive star. Mm-hmm. Second of all, he knows about what's going on. He rubs shoulders with. He's very well educated. He does his research, and he's actually there, right? He's there. He's in Hollywood, so to speak. Yeah. He's gonna question this shit. Why isn't anyone questioning anything? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. We should be allowed to do that. Every natural disaster that happens, earthquake in Haiti, they're trying to ship kids off. They get caught. What? This is not even a conspiracy, Eric. Like, this is fact. This has been proven in court. This is 100% fact, and
And so the only thing crazier than Epstein Island is thinking Curtis Smart is a top 10 running back of all time. I do, dude. I think he's a top 10 running back. Maybe bumped into the 11, 12 area, but he's up there. He's very good statistically.
Anthony also thinks Jamal Lewis is a top 3 running back of all time. So, I mean, Lamar Jackson's a pretty good running back.
Yeah, but Jamal, what? What? Like, he had 2 good seasons. But, yeah, go ahead.
What I was saying was, that kid, he's a Baltimore Ravens fan, right? They have 10 running backs on the roster.
Dalvin
You
Cook.
got Lamar Jackson. You got Huntley, the backup.
Yep.
Both of them guys are running backs. Gus Edwards, running back. All those guys. They're just a team of running backs. So he doesn't, he thinks he knows about running backs. It is what it is. He's also a huge raging liberal, and he voted for Hillary Clinton. Just want to make that public. Anthony voted for Hillary Clinton.
Idiot. Actually, I got something for him.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
But no, in all reality, it doesn't matter what your profession is. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. It has, if you're an athlete, you're in business, you're in entertainment. It doesn't matter what you do. This is an issue that every citizen in the United States that is not diddling kids should want to get to the bottom of. Like, every single person in the United States, in the world, should be like, all right, these guys were doing what to kids? We need to find out why, who is involved. Everybody needs to be exposed. And this is something that I think universally we all can get behind. Doesn't matter if you're a liberal, doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, black, white, it doesn't matter. If you care about children and the well-being of children, this should be an issue that you want to get to the bottom of. There's no political lines. There's no thing that should be dividing us on this issue. This is an issue that we should all be, every single person in the world should be like, yeah, we shouldn't be doing that. We need to find out who's involved. Yeah. And the fact that you're going to yell at Aaron Rodgers for doing that, I'm not gonna say that I'm suspect of you, but you're a piece of shit human being. That's what I'm gonna say. You're a piece of shit human being, and I hope to God that people like Jimmy Kimmel aren't mentioned on any court documents going forward, any list that may expose. Even though Megyn Kelly, who's a liberal journalist, a very liberal journalist, was out there saying the other day, she's like, I have on good authority and good sources saying that we're going to hear a lot more about Jeffrey Epstein, and from what I could say, we might even be hearing from him directly, which is fucking wild to think about. I said on my show yesterday that that's either going to be a dead man switch where he filmed a video. He's a Mossad spy blackmailing people. What better way to make sure that they don't kill you to have a kill switch, and make sure that, hey, if you kill me, I'm going to expose all of you, or he is a cooperating witness and working with them. Those are the only 2 options that I could think of that we'd hear from him directly.
But at the end of the day, we should be allowed to talk about it.
Yes.
And what drives me crazy is he didn't really talk that much about it. No. It wasn't that direct. It wasn't that crazy. He didn't go. They're making him seem like he went completely cuckoo.
Even if he did. Even if he did, we're talking about trafficking children, Eric. We're not talking about, making the playoffs. We're not talking about, offensive line stuff. We're talking about the most heinous acts that a human being could commit. Crimes against innocent children. Yeah. Innocent children. And they're going to get mad that he's going to bring that up. Go fuck yourself, all of you. Every single media pundit that has a problem with anybody talking about that, I don't care what the profession is, go fuck yourself. I'm done talking about that because I'm going to get heated because it really pisses me off. But I want to close out real quick because we don't have a lot of time on the upcoming moves in the offseason, because I'm very excited on what the Jets could potentially do. We obviously need to bring in some offensive line help. I don't really know who's available on the offensive line, but I think Mason said Tyron Smith is available. I'd love to bring him in. I'd love to. We need to. It's very, very important to bring in veterans and guys that could block up front. Like, remember in 09 when we got Alan Faneca and Damian Woody, like something like that. Like, we need something like 09 where we brought, because like that offensive line was one of the best offensive lines in football that year. Yeah, that offensive line.
I would say sign everybody you can. Anybody who's willing to come over, anybody who's willing to take your offer, sign everybody. I don't give a shit what happens in camp. You got to cut them afterwards. I don't care. Weed out the fat. Do everything you can and do it early, because Nathaniel Hackett's impossible system to learn needs
And
as
Keith
much,
Carter's
and Keith
terrible
Carter,
offensive line coaching.
I don't give a shit. Bring 100 fucking linemen in. Go draft a lineman every round of the draft. Do whatever you got to do. Get them all in here. Let them play together. Figure out who sucks, who doesn't, and cut who sucks, keep who doesn't, and then free agency comes, sign more of them, because I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of this shit. Make trades, do whatever you got to do, make it happen.
So when we get closer to the draft and combine and things like that, we're gonna do a lot of draft analysis and players that we really key on, because I don't really know enough about this incoming draft class. There's definitely some talent on the offensive line, but it's a very, very deep wide receiver class, and we definitely need some new wide receivers. It really depends at the 10 spot and who falls to us, because drafts are very weird. Like, I'm hearing rumors that Marvin Harrison Jr. might go 1 overall, which I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised. But I also, there's a lot of talks of Jackson Smith and Jigba, being a top 5 pick, and he dropped all the way to the middle of the draft. So if Marvin Harrison Jr. drops to the Jets at 10, take him. You got to do it. Because unless you're getting the first offensive lineman off the board, which I don't think will be the case, unless that guy is still available, and I don't know who that's going to be, unless he's the first one off the board, take him. But I'd rather try to address offensive line and free agency rather than in the draft personally, because offensive linemen take years to develop. Every offensive lineman, they don't really hit their stride until year 4. 5, 6 sometimes, and then all of a sudden they turn into a good offensive lineman, because these college games, they're not getting into a 3-point stance, they're starting in a standing position, a lot of shotgun, a lot of spread offense. They're not ready to handle these elite pass rushers in the NFL. They maybe face a guy like that who's an elite pass rusher in the NFL once, maybe twice a year in college, where in the NFL it's every week you got to go up against a guy who can get after the quarterback in today's NFL. So I really wouldn't mind getting a wide receiver at that 10 spot, but not having a second round pick. I think a wide receiver would have to. It is the only other option outside of an offensive lineman this year in the draft, because even though this draft is deep, if we don't have a second round pick, we're not going to be able to get that wide receiver in the second round that may drop to us. So what do you think the Jets should do with the 10th pick as of right now? Obviously,
I'm in total agreement. I think you go lineman unless Marvin Harrison is available. If Marvin Harrison is available, you snag him, and then I think that's when you give up Huff for that second round pick.
Well, I wouldn't give up Huff for a second round pick. I really wouldn't. I don't think that's worth it. I'd much rather have.
It would probably be a two and change. I'd
much rather have Huff, and I think that would be a very risky maneuver, because it's an unproven second round wide receiver.
I would say a second round lineman.
Oh, second! I definitely wouldn't want to make that trade. I wouldn't even. Not even close, because that second round lineman's going to take a couple years to develop. He's not going to be good right off the bat. Joe Tippmann was a second-round lineman who I think can be, a very decent center in this league, but he's going to take a couple years to develop. You can't expect the kid to show up and be an elite center or elite guard in his first 2 years. It's the NFL. It's not, college ball. So,
but what Tippmann was good depth, right? Yes. So if we do get someone in the second round, we have good depth, and then that's when we go to free agency and trades. You know what I mean? I mean, that's if because if Marvin Harrison is there, you have to. I think you absolutely have to take him. If that's the case, now you're hamstrung by the fact that you did take him.
Well, now you're kind of just
managing what happens.
Not if he does make it to the 10th, and we didn't make a trade in the offseason, which I think is still on the table, and I'll talk about it in a second.
True.
We have to take him, but I'm with Mason. I wouldn't mind if Marvin Harrison Jr. is taken and there's no offensive lineman, trade back and take a wide receiver later in the first round and get a second round pick with that trade back out of the top 10. I think that would be a great move to get that second round pick, so we can then figure something out in the second round rather than trading a guy like Bryce Huff, and we can still get an elite wide receiver. This wide receiver draft is very, very deep. There's a lot of really good talent, and everybody's saying they're all 6'2" and above, and they're all running 4.4, 4.3 40s, freak athletes. So look at this year and the rookie wide receivers and how they performed. Wide receivers can clearly step in and make a difference, and we're in a win now situation. We are in win now. So an offensive lineman is not a win now draft pick. It's not.
No, I mean,
no matter any way you slice it.
I think that you also factor in what, you know, like, I hate to keep saying it, but you also factor in what Rodgers can do, and you're hoping, I mean, again, then you're kind of betting on Hackett making the adjustments. You're betting on development from the other guys you have. Who knows? Carter Warren might be solid next year. We don't know that. He might be solid. We get AVT back next year, right? You know, it's a lot of what ifs, just like going into this season. It was a ton of what ifs. It's like either this is going to be really good or this is going to be an absolute shit show. And I kind of think that's what we're dealing with again, unless, like you said, we shore up a proven lineman in free agency.
That's
what I think that's the best case scenario.
I want the Jets to bring in some proven veterans. Like look at what's his name over at the 49ers, who's the Trent Williams, the best lineman in the league. He was a Redskin. The Jets had an opportunity to get him. He wasn't traded for a haul. Like, it was I think it was like a third round pick that he got traded for. The Jets could have very easily been in that. Joe Douglas was the GM. We let him go to the 49ers, and they're dominating with him. They're absolutely dominating. He's the best lineman in football. So I would love, if Tyron Smith is available from the Cowboys, or any of these elite linemen that might be available. I'd love to take a shot at them in the offseason rather than drafting, because we are in win now. But I did see some rumors that the Devontae Adams trade is very much a possibility. And I was seeing some things being floated around, 2024 third, a 2025 second, and Zach Wilson as the compensation. And if that was on the table, if something similar to that was on the table, a second next year, a third this year, and Zach Wilson or another piece, I'm making that trade 10 times out of 10.
I'm taking it. It helped. Even though we lose picks, it kind of makes the draft easier.
Yes, it makes the draft way easier.
Shoring up that wide receiver. I know he's a little bit, old for a wide receiver, but I would take him in a heartbeat just based off of the fucking chemistry.
We're in win now.
Win now, baby.
If Devonta Adams and Aaron Rodgers play 1 year, and if they play 1 year next year and they win the Super Bowl and they both ride off into the sunset, and we had to start over from scratch, we're going to rebuild the whole entire team, but we won the Super Bowl, sign me up. I'm in. Sold. I'm in. I don't care. We are in win now. And if we can get a guy like Devonta Adams, who's clearly still a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, with terrible quarterback play, just like he had this year,
and a terrible coach,
mentoring a guy like Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's only going to get better by having a guy like Devonta Adams in the locker room and in the wide receiver room. And then he's also got that chemistry, like you said, with Aaron Rodgers, which could then seep over to with Garrett Wilson.
I agree, 100%.
It's a no-brainer. If we can trade a 2025 second and a third this year, and maybe that's it, or maybe one smaller other piece, like a 4th round or something like that, I'm in. Sign me the fuck up. We have a guy who's going to score us touchdowns. He's going to help our young guys. He's got a great relationship with our quarterback, and is a good locker room guy.
Yeah.
No-brainer. And then going into the offseason, going into the draft, if it happens pre-draft, then we know that we can draft an offensive lineman. We can we could trade out and do something else and get draft picks, stack draft picks. It's not, the wide receiver position is solidified. We no longer have to worry about other weapons. We have a running back. I like Izzy being our change of pace guy, getting 5-10 snaps a game, with Breece Hall being a true 3-down back. I think that's what he is. But then we have our wide receivers. We need to focus on the offensive line, and we don't have to worry about anything on the defense. I mean, at that point, if we have Devonta Adams and there's no offensive linemen that are really worth drafting, I don't even mind drafting a defender. I wouldn't even be upset drafting a middle linebacker or something like that to replace C.J. Mosley.
Yeah, a safety, something. Right? There's not much. And you probably need an interior guy, a big fat dude.
Yeah, or an interior, like an Al Woods, someone to replace Al Woods, without a doubt. Yep. Like in that space, if we make that trade, I'm okay with that. If we don't have a Devonta Adams and we're sitting there with the current team that we have going into the draft, I'm definitely going to. I'll be very pissed off if we draft defensive first round. I'll be very, very pissed off.
I don't see it. I don't think there's no way we go defensive first round. There's no way. There's no way.
So we'll see. I'm very excited for this offseason. I'm excited for playoff football. I'm excited to watch, not being a Jets fan or not being a fan of any of the teams. I wouldn't mind seeing a run back of the Baltimore 49ers Super Bowl. I think that'd be pretty cool, exciting Super Bowl.
Or Flacco. I'd like to see Flacco do something.
The Browns, they have an elite defense, but who knows what they're going to be able to do? It wouldn't surprise me. The AFC is wide open. Anybody could win that division. The Bills could make a run. I wouldn't mind seeing Bills 49ers. That's a good matchup. But
I want to see Miami go down first round, though.
First round. I really do. I think it's going to be some good football. I think there's going to be a lot of fun football to watch. It's really unfortunate that we don't get to root for the Jets. It's been a long time. I miss watching the Jets in playoff football. Nothing got me more excited. You used to come over to my house, the good old days.
Yeah.
But we aren't going to take as long of a break this time. We will definitely be back next week. So make sure you tune in, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. You might check us out on some other shows. We might pop in there and say hi to our friends. I know the Jets podcasters did a whole thing, so we got to make sure that we're in there next year. Shout out to all the Jets fans and Jet Nation. We appreciate everybody that tuned in. Maybe we'll talk some fighting next week. There's a big Strickland fight coming up. I'm very excited for. That's going to be really cool. But until next time, guys, JETS. Jets. Deuces.
In a city that never sleeps, where legends are born and dreams become reality, a new chapter is about to unfold. Last season, they fought valiantly, leaving their mark on the gridiron. But now, a new dawn emerges, a chance for redemption and supremacy. The Jets have honed their skills, forged their bodies, and sharpened their minds. The stage is set, and they're ready to unleash their might.
Hey. No friends in the industry. I had to draw the line between my brothers and my enemies.
We said 60 minutes. One by one, we're gonna knock it down.
Yeah, you hit us up and now we owe you something back.
We're going to be great, man. I can't wait.